Well, with school back in session, it's not unusual to see kids in the classroom. You kind of expect that. But on a hot summer day, the last place you expect to see kids is studying away in a classroom. But after you meet Gladys Carter, you'll understand why a lot of West End kids spend time in her schoolroom basement.
Show me now the part on the map where the fish live and the seals live and the water animals live. It's all blue. All right, now, Bishop, you say an officer gave you a ticket? It could be like a ticket. Right there in your seat now. All of my life, I felt I was to be a teacher.
I skipped it, so I had to put it last.
And for most of her adult life, she has been. First teaching in the Louisville schools and parks, and later as associate director of the YWCA, she continued to inspire young people. Gladys Carter is one of those rare individuals with a gift for touching people's lives and leaving a lasting impression.
The difference she made in my life was striving to be better than what you think you are.
You don't look. You're a bright boy, but you don't look. When you're told to look, look. Sometimes I hold a little one, just touch him, hold him real tight, to keep his attention focused just where I want it to be. So when I touch them, and I'm very, very near, I can know that they are right there looking at what I expect them to be looking at. And then I find that they can answer so intelligently when you're real close to them.
Mrs. Carter believes that as children grow to adulthood, in many ways they continue to act as they did as children. She remembers one troublesome third grader in particular. As a child, he was known as a fighter. As an adult, he's known as the greatest.
I want the world to know I'm so great until Sonny Liston was not even a match. I'm the greatest thing that ever lived.
But as a little boy, he was very much like he is as a man. Talkative, determined to win, a pusher, a go-getter. If he couldn't win, Rudy must win. That was his brother. Whatever happened, he must be in the lead, and he must find people who helped him to stay there.
When 8-year-old Cassius Clay entered her class, she immediately moved him to the front row to keep a closer eye on him. One day, in frustration, she remembers asking if there was anything he could do well.
And I reprimanded him that day and about his not paying attention. And a child next, very near, said, "Miss Carter, did you ever see him fight?" And I said, "No. What can anybody gain from fighting? No one gains but a professional fighter." And he looked at me, didn't say anything.
Bill Gatewood, former assistant to the mayor, is another person she touched as a child.
No question. I have had a lot of people to influence me personally, but she stands out as a giant among, any of those people. And I would also say that there are hundreds of kids that grew up along with me in Beecher Terrace who would say the same thing without thinking twice.
He wanted his team to win. He wanted the best possible people on his team. I agree certainly with the poet who said, "The child is the father of the man." I agree with him because I've watched children. And just as Muhammad Ali is much like he was as a child. He hasn't changed. And Bill Gatewood is very much of what he was as a child.
Many people remember Gladys from this playground she supervised in the summers. In those days, it wasn't much more than a vacant lot, but she filled it with Indian powwows, dramatic play days, and Fridays. Every Friday, something special happened.
Every Friday, they anticipated something. And it makes that which is not so beautiful become beautiful, because my playground was not a pretty one. But it was filled with children, and I thought it was beautiful because they were there.
We had made a papier-mâché derby horse with a jockey. We had won the contest because she always believed in victories, she's victory-oriented. She says, "We've got to be winners." And when it was published that some other playground had been given the credit for it, she was furious. I had never seen that side of her because she is very calm, very unruffled.
Today, Mrs. Carter tutors youngsters of all ages in her basement classroom. The program is carefully designed to reinforce what the children are learning in school. If a child is not making good marks, Mrs. Carter believes it's everyone's responsibility. Parents should take their children's stories about school with a grain of salt.
So I would say to parents, stay in close contact with the school and know the truth. Always know the truth. Know the truth about your child's ability. Know the truth about his effort. Know the truth about his behavior. Don't imagine anything.
Spanish A. So we'll keep it on equals the A in bar.
She thinks it's the teacher's responsibility to make learning interesting. Just knowing the subject matter isn't enough. A good teacher must also know the child. If you understand children, she believes there are all kinds of ways to spark their interest.
I never go in a book without discussing the cover of the book. I think the drawings that the illustrator and the publisher, those drawings that have been put on the front of the book, will stimulate the child's interest. Do you think this book will be interesting next week?
Yes.
Why? Why?
She never stops asking why and how. And as one student put it, showing us that there's a big, exciting world outside the West End. She stresses the importance of setting goals and achieving them. And when school is in session, the students she tutors do achieve.
Very nice work, Tamika. Very nice. I set a very high standard. I tell them that their goal is perfection in performance. It's a very high goal, but I get them saying it and glibly saying it, and then we talk about it and how valuable it is, so at the end of the year I can proudly say none of my children failed.